take two. Let's try this again. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, on the road to WrestleMania, doing a little bit of fantasy booking for after WrestleMania. What are the two biggest things going on in the WWE right now? And they're separated by a large margin, let's be real, but they are the Judgment Day and the Bloodline. And what am I going to do today? I'm going to split the Judgment Day and the Bloodline. Now, the title and the little preamble I just gave there might be a little misleading, and I apologize for that if it has been misleading, although maybe it gets me 1 or 2 extra clicks. Who knows, we can dare to dream. I don't mean split them up as in the groups don't exist anymore and everybody goes their own way. I mean a good faction, a good group of people, a good force for bad, because they're both heel groups, would not be contained to one show, would be not contained to one area, would be not contained to one night of the week. Now, I should say, going into this, I am doing this as if WrestleMania has gone as follows. Cody beat Roman, Sami and Kevin Owens beat the Usos, Edge and Balor had their match, however that went. The Mysterios had their match, however that went, and Rhea has beaten Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Championship. Which is going to play into this, obviously. So, what do? We're going to start with the Bloodline, because they're the bigger story, are they not? I mean, the first big part of that story is the first ex-member of the Bloodline would be Sami Zayn, who is now off frivolously gallivanting with his newfound reunited friend Kevin Owens, and they're going to go have an amazing tag team title run. Absolutely fine. But what do we do with the rest of the New Day? Roman Reigns, much like his ex-Shield mate Jon Moxley in AEW, needs a break. Really, really does. He's been amazing since he's come back, since he's developed this heel character, since his story isn't the Bloodline is Jay's story. I've said that from day one, and I continue to say that, and as we go to WrestleMania, I'm going to say that and whatever. But it has all happened around Roman Reigns, and it has all happened because WWE finally decided to not make him John Cena 2.0. And from the minute they did that, everything has revolved around Roman Reigns in a way that we don't actually hate for once. So, he's established something pretty phenomenal. He's established that he can actually get people on side by being an asshole, ironically. And he's established something that WWE was lacking for a long time, which was a legitimate big faction story. So, all of that was predicated on him being the champion, him being the top of SmackDown, and ultimately the top of WWE. When he loses that to Cody Rhodes, and I mean, I can relate because it's fucking Cody Rhodes. I'm kidding. Pitchforks and torches can go away, it's fine. Cody's going to go off and be a great champion, and the AEW weirdos are going to think that it's a win for them because a WWE employee beat another WWE employee for a WWE title at a WWE pay-per-view, and that's a win for AEW because they're strange. Anyways, no, seriously, happy for Cody Rhodes. What he did at Hell in the Cell last year was stupid, but also awesome. So, great for him. Roman's going to disappear. Roman's going to disappear one of two ways. He's just going to, like, walk out of WrestleMania and we're not going to see him for a while. Or we are going to get the actual heartfelt, you know, I went the highest before the fall. I need to go away and find myself. Whatever the case may be. He's going to leave Paul Heyman, the wise man, there to watch over his family. And the family's going to fall apart. There's going to be some chinks in the armor, whatever the case may be. Whether he's on good terms with Jay, on good terms with Jimmy, on good terms with Solo, even on good terms with Paul Heyman at that point. He's going to go introspective for a second. He's going to leave Paul in that WWE universe, I'm using tight air quotes, to watch over his family because he can't be there right now, which is absolutely fine. Jay, as I've said, as I will continue to say, Roman becoming who he became was awesome for Roman. The Bloodline started with Roman gaslighting and recruiting Jey Uso, because Jimmy wasn't there at the time. So the Bloodline story is the Jey Uso story. His brother came back and tried to save him and got sucked in. Sami Zayn tried to be their friend, and he didn't want to think that he could have a friend in Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn won him over, and then he got turned on. His little brother just came up from NXT and fell immediately under the hammer of Roman Reigns. The story is the Jey Uso story. What I'm going to do here, we're going to split the Usos, but it's going to be an amicable split. It's not going to be a hate-filled, one turns on the other barbershop window type situation. It's going to be Jey Uso turning what Roman Reigns did to him at the very beginning of the Bloodline into a positive. He's going to take that negative, turn it into a positive. He was gaslit at the beginning. He was gaslit and manipulated and pressured and guilted and tempted and whatever else you want to say into joining up with Roman, because Roman convinced him he could be main event Jey. And he's going to have his ultimate revenge on Roman for that by proving Roman right, which I think is a little bit poetic. Now, what happened when he was main event Jey? He was main event Jey until his brother came back, and then he slipped back into the tag team world. I mean, Jimmy tried to pull him away from Roman for a little bit, and then ultimately it all got put together. They were a tag team. Them becoming tag team champions was to bolster Roman's family lineage and all that kind of thing. But he's going to make the decision sometime after WrestleMania. Not only does he need to be free of Roman, which will now be taken care of because he's done after the Cody loss, but he's got to be free of the moniker of being a tag team wrestler. And as long as he stays on SmackDown, he's going to want to team with his brother. His brother's going to want to team with him. That link is always going to be there. The fans are going to want to see them team together, like they wanted Jimmy to come back when Jey was doing his thing. So Jay's going to go to Raw. They're going to have an amicable split. They're going to show respect to each other. The reason I love this so much, and I'm going to get onto this again later on, there's still going to be the Bloodline. The remaining members of the Bloodline, Jimmy, Jey, Solo, Paul Heyman, are going to keep that name. They're going to keep that idea together. They're just going to make it their own, and they're going to make it everything but the oppressive regime that Roman had over all of them. Which is kind of cool, because it gives them an opportunity to sort of shout each other out. Kind of like when they split the New Day for a little bit. And Woods and Kingston would shout out whatever Big E was doing on SmackDown and vice versa. You could do the same thing here. Jimmy on SmackDown could be talking to Solo, which we're going to talk about in a second, but he's also going to want to take a moment whenever he's being interviewed. Hey, shout out to my boy Jey. He's over there on Raw. He's going to grab Theory's U.S. title, which I think he should. All that kind of thing, which not only helps them advertise each other without anybody wanting them to be a team again, but it is a little bit of cross-promotion for the two shows, which won't hurt anything either. So you put Jey on Raw. Obviously, you're not going to get Jey versus Cody Rhodes right away. That's a little far-fetched in the beginning, but I do think if we start building that cluster of challengers around Austin Theory, who I think will still be the United States champion after his match with John Cena, because John Cena becoming the U.S. champion at this point doesn't really serve a purpose unless John Cena wins the United States championship at WrestleMania to drop it to Jey Uso on the Raw after WrestleMania. I think that's cool. I think that's way too cool a thing to wish for at this point, because John Cena is going to come to his WrestleMania and be fine. And John Cena putting him over, or him being the guy that shuts up Austin Theory, two very different ways. Both would help Jey Uso as a singles star, and having him carry some singles gold for the first time. The only time anybody has carried singles gold in the Bloodline, other than Roman Reigns, was when Solo Sikoa came up from NXT, and for like 1 week he had the North American Championship so that they could have that picture before the Saudi Arabia show against Logan Paul. Jey Uso grabbing himself some singles gold will bolster the entire family, so to speak. I do think you put the title on him. He's one of the guys. We could decide at the same time we're going to make the United States Championship mean something, and we're going to make Jey Uso the singles star mean something. Those two things can happen simultaneously. I think that's the direction you go with Jey Uso. Jimmy Uso, and the people are going to think this is strange. Jimmy Uso, kayfabe, I don't want anybody to actually get hurt, Jimmy Uso gets injured. in the match with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. It leads to them losing their tag team championships and all that kind of thing. He's not the one that eats the pin, but he gets injured at some point in the match. Jay fights on valiantly, and we can talk about that forever as he starts his singles run. Jimmy gets injured and, you know, sprains his ankle, pulls his knee, torn meniscus, whatever fictional injury they want to give him. But that allows for him to have a very cool breaking moment of his own. His older cousin, his leader, is now gone. His twin brother has just broken away and gone over to Raw. And he's left on SmackDown with a little brother to look over in Solo Sikoa. So what you have for a little while is focus on Solo Sikoa as a single star on SmackDown with Big Brother Jimmy there to mentor him. And then whenever you feel like bringing the injury story to a close, you bring him back. Maybe whoever's fucking with him, maybe they're seen as baby faces at that point. Whoever's fucking with them has a friend. Jimmy and Solo become a short-term tag team. Maybe they mix it up in a respectful way with Sami and KO, like, hey, after that match we all earned each other's respect, let's do it one more time for the good times, kind of like they did on Raw this week. But for the most part, you have this dynamic between the two of them where Jimmy is either partnering with Solo or mentoring him, and maybe you get Solo taking on somebody like a Gunther, or you get Solo taking on somebody like a Drew McIntyre who picks up the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania in my particular booking of this. I think Drew McIntyre's facing Gunther. We don't know. They haven't really said anything about whether Sheamus is joining into that just yet. But whoever that is, I mean, Solo's going to go around and squash some people for a little while. Whoever comes out of WrestleMania as the Intercontinental Championship holder is going to go on a couple weeks of squash matches just celebrating being the Intercontinental Championship, which is absolutely fine. So you build up that champion as a strong champion. Separately, with Jimmy in his corner, Solo becomes a very, very worthwhile contender. And as I say, in the meantime, when the numbers and the situations call for it, Jimmy does sort of pop up as a partner, but very much backing up his brother, like his brother is the project. I do think that's the way to go with this. You've got Jay going out on his own and Solo going out on his own. Jimmy taking this sort of elder statesman type position within the family in the absence of Roman, you know, Roman leaving, creating a power vacuum. Jimmy doesn't make it as a power play, but it's sort of a responsibility type of idea would be really, really cool, I think. And as I say, over both shows, I'm not asking Paul Heyman to be their manager, because I don't want that. I think that has to be different. I don't want him to be out there at ringside with them as the manager. I don't want them to be the advocate or the wise man or the advisor or anything that cliche. Just be the guy in the background. Hey, your cousin knows he fucked up. He left me behind to watch out for his family while he's gone. I do think at the end of all of this, you can bring back Roman in like 6 months. Like I say, give him the time off. Give him whatever time off he wants. You can bring back Roman as a face. And I think if he's able to come absolutely full circle, he was a face that we hated. He became the heel that we loved. He went out on his shield, pun intended, and is able to come back as a face that's actually accepted. That will be the full success story for Roman Reigns as far as rehabbing his character. But if him being here and then being gone allows his little brother, or his little cousin rather, who just came up from NXT not that long ago at Clash at the Castle, not only that, it allows his brothers, who were already a pretty awesome tag team, to actually step out and be the individuals that he gaslit them into only thinking that they could be. That's the success story all around. You get singles champion Jay, singles champion Solo, maybe somewhere down the line Jimmy as well, or Jimmy reunites with one of the brothers and maybe has another tag team run later on down the line. Maybe Jimmy goes on and faces his brother in like a cool respect thing. Now, if Roman comes back and he's still a heel, what you have to do is you have to bring him back on Raw. Leave the Solo Jimmy experiment on SmackDown. Let Roman Reigns come to Raw. because SmackDown is not the island of relevancy anymore, and you have him get bowed up to by this new reinvigorated Jey Uso, maybe with a title, maybe not with a title, to basically come in the first day that he's back, press that belt to his face, and say, you didn't think I could do it. You hung in front of my face the idea that I could do this, not thinking I could actually do it. Here it is. You have Jey at Roman's next pay-per-view, at his comeback pay-per-view, you have Jey get the victory he was never able to get over Roman, and you do that. You do all of it. And even if Roman comes back and he's not an asshole anymore, but more along the lines of he sees what he did to his cousin and he knows why his cousin is pissed and he knows his cousin's right to be pissed, says, I'll give you the match you want. And then everybody comes together at the end, and because it's a pay-per-view, Raw and SmackDown doesn't matter. The brothers are there, Paul Heyman is there, the whole fucking shtick. I don't know how you loop Sammy in, if Sammy's even still involved at that point. There's so much you can do by letting all these parts sort of float apart a little bit and come back later on. Now, that's the Bloodline. I gave you 16 minutes on the quote-unquote split of the Bloodline because they've given us 9 months of awesome material to play with. A little bit less with the Judgment Day because the Judgment Day thing is a little bit more cut and dry. It's a little bit more fun. It's a little lighter. But let's just start with the obvious thing. Well, Rhea has to go to SmackDown because she's the SmackDown Women's Champion after she beats Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. She's going to bring Dominic with her, though, because a couple of things need to happen. I don't agree with the people that say as soon as Dominic gets good, his character is going to suck because part of his character is that he's not good. That's a terrible way to look at. I mean, I get it that is true right now, but that's a terrible way to look at somebody and say, I'm really enjoying you right now. Don't you dare get good or I won't like you anymore. That's a really weird take, and I don't get it. But you put Rhea with Dom on SmackDown because he's obviously going to follow Mami, and he can have some like sort of low-level stuff. Let him get a win over Corbin. Let him get a win over Madcap Moss. Let him get a win, I don't know. Let him get a fluke win over Jimmy Uso because, you know, he steps up, but he's a good guy now, so he gets taken out by bad guy tactics. I don't know. Let him do just, if he's doing nothing, if he's doing like from 0 to 1 right now, let him go for sort of like 1 to 2. But primarily, he's there to be the male valet of Charlotte Flair, who, I'm sorry, because Cody is going to be the champion, and they haven't split the titles, and Cody's mostly a Raw guy. We need to do the opposite of what we did with Roman as the the undisputed Universal Champion, where he was the champion and he basically existed on SmackDown and came to Raw sometimes. Cody can do the opposite. Cody can loom over Raw, as a babyface, I get it, but he can loom over Raw and be the person that occasionally comes over to SmackDown. Now, what happened on Raw when we didn't have a world champion? The mid-card title got pushed. The, everything around Austin Theory, a bunch of main eventers that weren't in the title picture got pushed to the main event. If you want to shut up people that refuse to acknowledge how awesome the women's division is in WWE, you make Rhea Ripley the main character on SmackDown. Like, they have things listed, who's the number one and number 2 male heel on this show, who's the number 1 and number 2 male babyface, and then who's the female heel. No, you make Rhea Ripley the number 1 heel in all of SmackDown, and you build it around her. You can do that. Not that long ago, you would not have been able to do that with the women's division, but Papa H actually showed us at the Royal Rumble that he knows what's fucking good. So yeah, let Rhea Ripley carry the show. She can do it. It was her and Shayna Baszler that were the main event of the NXT that beat Dynamite. And yes, I'm going to keep saying that because yes, the only time Black and Gold ever got the flowers that they deserved. But anyways, so you got Dom there with Ripley. He's going to do some other stuff on the roster. Maybe, oh my god, Dominic versus Bray Wyatt. Fucking get in. I just thought of that just now and it made me smile a whole bunch. Now, what do you do with Rhea Ripley? Obviously, she's going to be riding high on beating Charlotte Flair, one of the best women, I can speak, I swear, one of the best women competitors WWE has ever had. Sasha Banks could never. Moving on. So she's going to ride so high on that immediately, she's going to offer the rematch at Backlash. Apparently WrestleMania Backlash isn't a thing anymore, but it's just back to being Backlash. Now, I'm not going to do a SmackDown after WrestleMania thing like we do Raw after WrestleMania, etc. What I am going to do is the SmackDown after Backlash, where she confirms herself as the champion and takes down Charlotte Flair a second time. Maybe you draft Charlotte over to Raw. Maybe Charlotte can feud with Asuka, who I also hope will be the women's champion eventually. But what do? You have a call-up, not after WrestleMania, but after Backlash, because who remembers Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, pick your poison. Roxanne Perez picked Raquel Rodriguez, and Cora Jade picked Rhea Ripley. And you had a fucking fantastic match between Roxanne Perez and Rhea Ripley. Go check it out. It's better than you believe it is. The thumbnail, if you find it on my YouTube channel, the thumbnail tells you all you need to know. Roxanne Perez steps out the Friday after Backlash and steps up to Rhea Ripley, and you start a feud between those two. It would be fucking fantastic. Also, shuffle some other people around. Get Becky over there. Becky and Ripley is a feud that needs to happen. Becky doesn't need to win. Becky, on the back of beating Charlotte twice, beating another one of the horsewomen would be great right after that. And then you work Bayley over there at some point as well, because they're the 3 horsewomen that matter. Oh yes. Now, again, that brings half of the group over to SmackDown, just like we brought Jay over to Raw with the Bloodline. Now, both factions have impact on both shows. Same as I said about Jay, you can do the same thing here. Priest and Balor can brag about how Rhea Ripley and the Judgment Day are owning SmackDown, and how are they going to hold up their end of the bargain? Well, we have spoilers going into Elimination Chamber, so I didn't get what I wanted at Elimination Chamber, which was Damian Priest picking up the United States Championship. So what you do is you send Priest after the United States Championship. And again, this works 2 ways. Either he's going to fight, get my name straight here, he's going to fight Austin Theory, and then he's going to get to say, I beat the guy that beat John Cena at WrestleMania, and I've got the United States Championship to show for it. Or, if you go back to my previous booking, Jey Uso has taken that title off of Austin Theory already. He gets to be the guy that says, I beat the guy that beat John Cena at WrestleMania. And then you get a really kick-ass and sort of unpredictable feud between new single-star champion babyface Jey Uso and Damian Priest of the Judgment Day. Also, if it does turn out that John Cena did beat Austin Theory at WrestleMania, the idea of Damian Priest instead of Jey Uso being the one to take the title off of John Cena the Raw after WrestleMania is also a pretty delicious prospect when you consider the type of braggadocious nature that comes with the Judgment Day. If he did that the very next night, yes, I am moving Rhea Ripley and Dom over to SmackDown, but the Raw after WrestleMania, everybody's there. You get a celebration with the Judgment Day, Balor maybe having just beaten Edge, maybe in Hell in the Cell, we don't know, but you've got Damian Priest with the new United States Championship that symbolizes him beating John Cena, and he's clinking belts with his compadre, Rhea Ripley, who's about to go to SmackDown and rule SmackDown, and you get one last big Judgment Day celebration. Now, what's the one missing piece of all of that? You're going to have Dominic, who's just come off a fight with his dad. You're going to have Rhea Ripley, who's running SmackDown. You're going to have Damian Priest either fighting for the United States Championship or, the way I just booked it, beating John Cena for it. What's the missing piece? What's the missing piece? What's the last piece of the Judgment Day puzzle? Well, it's Finn Balor taking the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship off of new champion Cody Rhodes. Is it not? I want to see the match, honestly. I'm being a little bit vindictive towards Cody Rhodes, and I kind of feel bad for it, but it's also honest. So what do you want me to say? Balor versus Cody would be a hell of a match. End of sentence. Balor versus Cody for the championship is awesome. And listen, this is the thing. I'm not an ROH guy. I'm not a New Japan guy. I caught it a little bit in Impact, but in general, I'm not a Bullet Club guy. I don't know all the lore. I didn't see the 20 million star matches in the Tokyo Dome, brother. But I know enough, and I've seen enough, and I've been told enough that you could bring in so much. You could get AJ Styles involved somehow. You could have the Good Brothers involved somehow. If Jay White makes the right decision and signs with WWE, you get him involved somehow. This could be, with the sort of dissolution of strictly heel Bloodline, this could be the new big story, if you let it be. And I want to see it. I want to see, the same as I want to go into WrestleMania, and I want to see a ridiculous purple Judgment Day style Hell in the Cell match with whatever the Judgment Day version of the Demon is. Whatever ridiculousness that becomes, whatever creative spin we put on that, so that the Demon can still be the Demon, but still reflective of his new heel character in the Judgment Day. Give me Judgment Day Demon Finn Balor breaking, shattering the dreams of the American Nightmare. Oh yes. I'm going to leave it right there. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.